Hey guys, I'm Shanoy and I'm a 2019 Chevening Scholar from Jamaica. Now, since being announced as a Chevening Scholar, I've had so many people reach out to me on different social media platforms asking for tips on their essays, asking if I can review their essays. Admittedly, I'd promised to help some persons, but with schoolwork starting to cave in, I really can't go through with all of the essays and stuff. So I decided to do a quick video to kind of help persons. As a disclaimer, this video is in no way endorsed by Chevening. It is not officially linked to Chevening. These are my personal viewpoints as someone who has been fortunate to have benefited from a Chevening scholarship. Now, something that many people don't know is that I had actually applied for a Chevening scholarship prior. So I'm giving you my feedback from probably what I did wrong before and what I got right the second time around. The first time I actually made it all the way to the interview stage, which in and of itself was a major accomplishment, but I didn't land the scholarship at that particular point in time. So these tips that I'm about to give you are linked to the differences in probably what I did wrong in the first instance and what I got right in the second instance. So first thing I would say though is to always refer to the official platforms. So if you go to the Chevening website, you will see several guidelines that are very comprehensive. It actually tells you what it's looking for. It tells you the kind of persons it is looking for, the kind of qualities that a Chevening scholar has. And then even for the essays, there are guidelines. It's very specific. It's asking specific questions. How can your area of study benefit your country? How will it impact your long-term goals? Why are you selecting this school? What is your networking and leadership skills and qualities like? So literally focus on those official questions and answer them. So one of the key tips as well, I would say, is that just acknowledge that Chevening scholarships are very competitive. I mean, this year alone, it was like applicants from over 140 countries. There were about over 55,000 applicants, and 1,740 or 1,750 scholars were selected. So you can just imagine how competitive the process is. So the first thing to bear in mind is you always need to find a reason why you. Clearly, everyone would have achieved some academic sort of qualifications and would have also met the minimum for 2 years work experience. So you want to be very clear about what makes you stand out, what gaps are you able to fill, and how are you able to fill those. Also, people have asked me a lot, can you apply for a Chevening scholarship if you already have postgraduate qualifications? Yes, you can. Several persons within my year have postgraduate qualifications. They've done a master's already. Either it is that there's an area they now want to expound on, or some people wanted to do a complete career shift. So it is perfectly fine if you already have postgraduate qualifications. It's just a matter of proving how what you want to study can be of benefit to your country. So as I mentioned again, just focus on what makes you stand out. And in what making you stand out as well, you have to be very true to yourself. You have to think about your program of study, how it aligns with your current values or your current trajectory or the direction that you want to go, and how your program of study will help you to go in that direction. So again, what is your direct benefit to your country? I remember when I was applying for the Chevening scholarships as well, I reached out to other Chevening scholars before. And I remember one of the key things they kept saying, try to ensure that you emphasize the how. So for all of those questions, don't just say, I am going to do this and this, or my country will benefit in this way. Say how you will contribute to that aspect or that process of benefiting the country. If there's a particular entity that you intend to work with on your return, you can explicitly say that as well. If it is that you're in private practice and you're planning to collaborate with an NGO, or you're planning to even start an agency that fulfills a need or a gap, then that's something to definitely look into as well. And then a key thing where many people fall down on is their career goals. Be very clear about your career goals. So you will be asked about your career goals for the next 5 years, if I'm not mistaken. And so your program of study should in some way align. It does not make sense to go and do a program and to do it at that advanced level and then go home and then it falls by the wayside. So you need to think through those questions as well. What do I really want to do? How does this program align with what I want to do? And when I get back home, how will it be in line with my career goals? You also have to look at evidence of leadership. So think carefully about this. There are times when there are things that we do and we think that it isn't significant. For example, It could be that you were in charge of your debating society. It could be that you led your drama team. It is always about how you apply and incorporate things such as those. So don't think about it that, oh, you probably didn't have any leadership skills at the national level. Think about the leadership skills that you have, play them up, and see how you can build on those and expand that as well. A key thing for Chevening as well is networking. So ultimately, you will be asked, how will you network, or how will you leverage, being a part of the network? The Chevening network is really an awesome network to be a part of. It opens up many doors and many opportunities for you. But ultimately, you also need to be able to network in that. So you want to think through that question as well in terms of the networking. Something that I would say to people honestly is to be honest. Because looking back at my first Chevening interview and my second one of the key things that stood out to me was also where I was in terms of my goals, my career plans, and my life, and how that came out in my interview. In my first interview, I kind of was just at the phase like, yeah, I just want to go back to school and I want to get this qualification, and more or less I probably want to go back to my job. And so it was a very lackluster sort of response. The interviewers will pick up on it. Chances are, if you're not passionate about it, or if there's no evidence of research, they will pick up on it. And so for my second interview, the passion came out. It came from a very different place, because I was very clear on why I wanted to study this program, why I wanted to study it at that specific university, what elements of the program, if not all, would be beneficial to not just me on my return, but my country as a whole. So I would say that as well. Be honest with yourself, and that honesty will come out in the interview. I would add that you need to be passionate as well about what you are going to be pursuing. But outside of passion, I've spoken to other Chevening scholars, and one of the advice they have given as well is to look carefully at the industry that you're operating in. Identify some of the gaps that are there, or how can you improve on some of the things that are in the industry, or how can you even create collaborative forces with others in the industry. So you want to look at those as well. And I'd say application is key. At the end of the day, you can look at it and say, okay, you're studying this program, and then it may even be in a sector that people wouldn't normally align it. But when you look through your career goals and work through it, you can in fact apply it to different areas. So I would say as well, be very detailed in your responses. I mean, there is a word limit, but there's also a way for you to introduce the key points and then just be very detailed about what it is that you want to achieve. So I think those are some of my main points that I would want to highlight. And the next thing as well, guys, if it is that you have work experience, let it work in your favor. So Chevening asked for a minimum of 2 years of work experience. Coming to the UK, I've recognized that lots of Caribbean people tend to have way more work experience, because it seems several other people from across the world, they do their bachelor's and they jump straight into their master's program. So let that 2-year gap or more that you have, let it work for you. Highlight how it is that the skills and values that you have implemented in your workplace or you're gained from your workplace, how you can build on them, how you can improve on them, how you can even change some of the things that weren't really working to make them work for you on your return home. Ultimately, you will be required to come back to your country, and you will also be required to contribute to your country. So really it takes just a very solid approach. I would say before you even start writing anything down, just sit down and have a very honest conversation with yourself to say, why do I need this? And how is it going to help not just me, but it's going to help my country as well. The next point I wanted to make, so you will ask people for feedback, you will ask them for guidelines, etc. But ultimately, it boils down to you again and to your goals. So you want to focus on that. And as I mentioned, if you go on the Chevening FCO platforms, they tend to have Q&As. They tend to have, the entire website is filled with information. I didn't want to go into some of the other things there that people are talking about, because there are several videos out there. But of course, you want to do your research. When you mention your school of choice and why you're going there as well, go a little bit deeper, go into the why, show that you know about your school, that you specifically had research process and you deliberately chose that program or that institution. Those are the things that stand out. And ultimately, the last thing I wanted to add was that if you don't succeed with your Chevening Scholarship this time around, don't give up. I mean, I was crushed. I went all the way to the interview stage about in 2017, if I'm not mistaken. And I kind of had just told myself, well, this is it, and I'm not going to go through the process again. And thanks to other Chevening scholars who also gave a helping hand and encouraged me and was like, you know, they think I'm a very good fit for this and they would encourage me to try again. So I would say that to you, that most importantly is just to believe in yourself, have confidence, have that quiet time, that conversation with yourself, and I promise you, when you do that, it will come out much better, not just in your essays, but in your interview as well, because there will just be this synergy with everything that you believe within yourself, everything that you want for yourself, everything you want from the program, everything you want to contribute to the program. And when you put all of that together and you put it on paper and you go into the interview, you can speak with confidence and conviction, and that will be one of the key ingredients in helping you to secure the Chevening Scholarship. So I really hope these tips were useful.